Hello, Lanita Ellis, a scrappy grandma here. This is our weekly Bible study, the Torah Portions, where we read through the first 5 books of the Bible. We are on week 51, so we only have 4 weeks to go. Well, it's called Nitzavim, and it means you are standing and he went. So it'll be interesting to see what all that means. I haven't listened to any of the commentaries. Actually, this is prep day, so happy prep day. I'm trying something new. Since last week's portion didn't upload, and I didn't find out until yesterday because I've had a busy week. And so it's uploading right now, but I think I'm going to try to get these done on prep day and make it to where they come out. So it'll be available Sunday after Sabbath. So this is Friday. So, because that'll start next week. So next week we start week 51. Or when you're hearing this, it'll be this week. See, that's where it gets so confusing for my poor brain. So this is for the week of, what are we on? We're on the 20th today. I think today's the 20th. So starting the week of the 22nd, going through the following Sabbath. That's what this is from, Nitzavim. And it is Deuteronomy 29, 10 through 30, 20. And then the Haftorah, the prophets, is Isaiah 61, 10 through, wait a second. Yes, Isaiah 61, 10 through 63, 9. And then Luke 24, 1 through 43. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with prayer. Good place to start. Father Yah, bless this time. Help this to go out for whoever it is that you want to hear it. Give me your words and your words alone. That everything I say glorify you. Make this all about you. Help me to die to self. Help me to not project my information into here. Give those that are listening ears to hear and eyes to see your perfect covenant that you created before time and that you want to tabernacle with us. Thank you, Father, in your Son Yahushua's mighty name. Amen. So we're getting ready for the feast. That's super exciting. We've got, let's see, not next week, but the following week starts the first, the Feast of Trumpets. So that will be fun. And I've been practicing my shofar. Hold on here. I'm going to adjust a little bit. There we go. I've been practicing my shofar every day, every morning. And it's interesting. Some days it works great. Other days I can't get it to work. So hit and miss, but it's fun practicing. So, all right, I'm going to start with the commentary here to kind of give us a little bit of backdrop of what we're going to be reading. And, oops, sorry, I'm messing with the microphone there. So, in last week's Parsha, Ki Tavo, Moses warned the Israelites that obedience to the Lord would bring blessings, but disobedience would bring numerous curses, including the prospect of being scattered among the nations in exile. In this week's portion, Moses formally gathers the people together to deliver to them a final solemn appeal to uphold Yahuah's covenant. The people stand before Moses, from the greatest to the least, in order to enter into the sworn covenant of Yahuah in fulfillment of the promise Yahuah made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is the actual covenant ceremony. Ooh, how exciting. That marks the climax of Moses' earlier appeals in the narrative. The Parsha begins, "You are standing today, all of you, before Yahuah your Elohim, the heads of your tribes, your elders, and your officers, all the men of Israel. Moses then warned that anyone who attempted to be exempt from the terms of the covenant would be blotted out from the earth. Moreover, if the entire nation broke the covenant, the land itself would be destroyed and the people exiled. And we all know that that's what ended up happening. They would be told that it is because they broke the covenant that Moses was mediating with them this very day. However, in the end days, the people, yay, here we go. In the end days, the people would return to Yahuah, perform teshuvah, repent, return. If your outcast shall be at the ends of the heavens, from there will Yahuah, your Elohim, gather you and bring you into the land which your fathers have possessed. The Parsha ends with an appeal to practice the Torah and its commandments. And see, that's just it. I mean, everyone's like, well, nobody can perfectly keep... I'm sorry, I'm going to have to move this because I keep bumping it. Here we go. Nobody can keep the commandments perfectly. Yeshua, Jesus, our example, our Savior, our Messiah, he was the only one. But we practice every day and do what we know to do. And as we learn, then we implement those things into practice. And it reminds me of when the new Christian converts, the Gentile converts, were coming into the faith. The disciples, they were like, let's just give them the basics, nothing strangled, nothing with the blood in it, and whoring, I think. I can't remember what the other one was. And I always have trouble with those three. But, and then let them, that the laws of Moses are taught in the synagogue each week. And as they come and they listen, they'll learn, and as you learn, you practice, and then you learn more and you practice, and it's just an ongoing. I mean, that's why it's so beautiful to read the Torah portions every year, because each year you build upon, wisdom is built upon each year, and there's new revelations every year that are really pertinent to where you're at in life. I mean, it's been amazing how every week, the portion for that week is so closely attached to what we're going through. It's almost like there was a plan. So the Parsha ends with the appeal to practice the Torah and its commandments. The covenant obligations are not too difficult or esoteric for them, but are completely within their reach, since they are a matter of the heart and are known by the heart's decision to obey Yahuah. So, I mean, we're able to do them, but it takes practice. We're going to fail. We're going to succeed. We're going to fail, succeed, but as long as we're continuing to practice keeping the Torah and the commandments, keeping the instructions. I mean, that's, you start a new job, you learn a whole new set of instructions, you practice them, and you get them down after practice and practice. So, let's see here. It says, but the word is very near you. It is in your mouth and in your heart, so that you can do it. Deuteronomy 30:14. The path of life is to love Yahuah and obey his voice. Therefore, Moses makes a final plea: choose life. This is probably one of my favorites, I think, if it's the one I'm thinking of. Yep. I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Therefore, choose life, that you and your offspring may live, loving Yahuah your Elohim, obeying his voice, and holding fast to him. For he is your life and the length of your days. Deuteronomy 30:19 through 20. The choice between life and death is now before them, and heaven and earth are eternal witnesses to the terms of the agreement. If the Israelites choose to obey Yahuah, they will be blessed and prosper. Otherwise, they will suffer exile, undergo persecution, and ultimately perish. We're grafted in, for those of us that are not natural branches. We're the wild branches grafted in. And so it's all exactly the same for us as well. So we can stand on this, claim these, as we practice and we do right, we choose life and we choose the blessings. So, okay, I'll go ahead and get started. So, here it is. Deuteronomy 29:10 through 30:20. All of you are standing today before Yahuah your Elohim, your leaders, your tribes, your elders, and your officers, all the men of Israel. Your little ones, your wives, and your sojourner who is in the midst of your camp, from the one who cuts your wood to the one who draws your water, so that you should enter into covenant with Yahuah your Elohim and into his oath which Yahuah your Elohim makes with you today. In order to establish you today as a people for himself, and he himself be your Elohim, as he has spoken to you, and as he has sworn to your fathers, to Abraham, to Yitzhak, and to Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and not with you alone, I am making this covenant and this oath, but with him who stands here with us today before Yahuah, our Elohim, as well as with him who is not here with us today. For you know how we dwelt in the land of Mitzrayim, and how we passed through the nations which you passed through. And you saw their abominations and their idols, wood and stone and silver and gold, which were with them. Lest there should be any among you, a man or a woman, or a clan or a tribe, whose heart turns away today from Yahuah your Elohim to go serve the mighty ones of these nations. Lest there should be any among you a root bearing bitterness or wormwood. It's so important that we don't pick up offenses and carry bitterness. That's one of the things we have to practice, laying it down. Help, what is it? Forgive me as I forgive others. Don't hold on to bitterness. Okay. And it shall be when he hears the words of this curse that he should bless himself in his heart, saying, I have peace, though I walk in the stubbornness of my heart, in order to add drunkenness to thirst. Whoa, wait a minute. What is that? Let me read that over, because that just didn't make any sense. And it shall be when he hears the words of this curse. Let's go back up. And you show the abominations and stuff, and whose heart our Elohim go and serve mighty ones of these nations, lest there should be any among you bearing bitterness or wormwood. And it shall be when he hears the words of this curse that he should bless himself in his heart, saying, I have peace, though I walk in the stubbornness of my heart, in order to add drunkenness to thirst. So basically, he's like, whatever, I'm fine. Yahuah would not forgive him, but rather the displeasure of Yahuah and his jealousy shall burn against that man, and every curse that is written in this book shall settle on him, and Yahuah shall blot out his name from under the heavens. Now, this is someone who knows the truth. And it's not like someone that we know that's never been exposed to the truth. This is someone who, they've been through all of been through the time of going through the wilderness. They've gone through all the instructions from Moses. They've gone through all of these other countries, and they've seen how they worship their idols and their gods. And he's let them know that those are abominations, which means it incites him to wrath. It makes him angry. And they've chosen to say, yeah, I'm going to go serve them. I don't care, whatever. Well, it's not going to go well for them. And Yahuah shall separate him for evil out of the tribes of Israel, according to all the curses of the covenant that are written in the book of the Torah, in this book of the Torah. And the generation to come of your children who rise up after you, and the foreigner who comes from a far land shall say, when they see the plagues of that land and the sickness which Yahuah has sent unto it, all it is sulfur, salt, and burning. It is not sown, nor does it bear, nor does any grass grow there, like the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah. Admah and Siboin, which Yahuah overthrew in his displeasure and his wrath. And all nations shall say, why has Yahuwah done so to this land? What does the heat of this great displeasure mean? And it shall be said, because they have forsaken the covenant, the marriage ketubah, the covenant it's a marriage covenant. It's marriage language. So basically they were adulterous on Yahuwah. So before nope. Because they have forsaken the covenant of Yahuwah Elohim of their fathers, which he had made with them when he brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. And they went and they served other mighty ones and bowed themselves to them, mighty ones they did not know, and that he had not given to them. Therefore, the displeasure of Yahuwah burned against this land to bring on it every curse that is written in this book. And Yahuwah uprooted them from their land in displeasure and in wrath and in great rage, and cast them into another land as it is today. And they were taken out in exile. Now this is cast them into another land as it is today. Interesting. The secret matters belong to Yahuwah, our Elohim, but what is revealed belongs to us and to our children forever, to do all the words of this Torah. 30. And it shall be, when all of these words come upon you, the blessing and the curse which I have set before you, and you shall bring them back to your heart among all the nations where Yahuwah your Elohim drives you, and shall turn back to Yahuwah your Elohim, and obey his voice according to all that I command you today, that all your heart, with all of your heart and with all of your being, you and your children, then Yahuwah your Elohim shall turn back your captivity and shall have compassion on you, and shall turn back and gather you from all the peoples where Yahuwah your Elohim has scattered you. So he just didn't let them go. He actually scattered them purposefully. He knows where they're at. And if any of you are driven out to the farthest parts under the heavens, from there Yahuwah your Elohim does gather you, and from there he does take you. And Yahuwah your Elohim shall bring you to the land which your fathers possessed, and you shall possess it. And he shall do good to you, and increase you more than your fathers. And Yahuwah your Elohim shall circumcise your heart and the heart of your seed, to love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being, so that you might live. That's beautiful. And Yahuwah your Elohim shall put all these curses on your enemies and on those who hate you, who persecute you. And you shall turn back and obey the voice of Yahuwah, and do all of his commandments, which I'm commanding you today. And Yahuwah your Elohim shall make you have excess in all the work of your hands, in the fruit of your body, and in the fruit of your livestock, and in the fruit of your ground for good. For Yahuwah turns back to rejoice over you for good, as he rejoiced over your fathers. If you obey the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim, to guard his commands and his laws, which are written in this book of the Torah, and if you turn back to Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being, for this command which I am commanding you today is not too hard for you, nor is it far off. It is not in the heavens to say, who shall ascend to the heavens for us and bring it to us and cause us to hear it, so that we do it, nor is it beyond the sea to say, who shall go over the sea for us and bring it to us and cause us to hear it, so that we do it. For the word is very near you, in your mouth and in your heart, to do it. See, I have set before you today life and good, and death and evil. In that I am commanding you today to love Yahuwah your Elohim, to walk in his ways, and to guard his commands and his laws and his right rulings. And you shall live and increase, and Yahuwah your Elohim shall bless you in the land which you go in to possess. But if your heart turns away, and you do not obey, and shall be drawn away, and shall bow down to other mighty ones and serve them, I have declared to you today that you shall certainly perish. You shall not prolong your days in the land which you are passing over the Jordan to enter and possess. And I have called the heavens and the earth as witnesses today against you. I have set before you life and death, the blessing and the curse. Therefore, you shall choose life, so that you live, both and your seed, to love Yahuwah your Elohim, to obey his voice, and to cling to him. For he is your life and the length of your days, to dwell in the land which Yahuah swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Yitzhak, and to Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give them. It's just this, to cling to him, for he is your life and the length of your days. That's just beautiful. And that's, man, I just been feeling it a lot lately. My friend Angelina, hi, I know you're going to be listening to this. As we approach the Moedim, the set apart, day, the feast days, well, not all feast and fast days, but the set apart times of Yahuah. A lot of times, a lot of us experience crushing, because like right now we're in 40 days of repentance, and so we're searching ourselves. We're seeing where we're not lined up with the covenant, where we're out of step, where we're sinning, where our habits, our nature, our flesh is taken over, and we need to put it to death, quite honestly. And so we put ourselves upon the altar and give ourselves to him. And like so many parables in here, whether it's grapes being crushed in the wine press, or it's wheat being crushed into fine flour, it's when we die to self and allow him to rule and reign in us, and we're faced with our humanity and our humanness, and we choose to lay it down, kill it, repent, and turn back. But sometimes that can be a crushing, in that it's a hard habit that we've really developed, or it's something you just really don't want to give up. It's crushing. But Angelina and I, we've been being crushed by blessings, which is a very odd concept, because you just don't give a whole lot of thought to being crushed by blessings. But when you are experiencing such undeserved blessings, and I think like last portion, there was a lot of things in there. It's like, I deserve death. I am so filthy rags. I've done all of the things that are abominations, and I deserve death. And yet, in his immense mercy, he not only loves me and sets me on the right path and teaches and directs and guides me, then he pours out blessings. And I've been experiencing just incredible blessings. My health, it's still kind of where I'm like, is this real? Is this real? And he told me at the beginning of 2024 Gregorian calendar, it was in January, that this was my year for healing. And it's interesting because it was 7 years ago. So 7 years I've been in a healing pattern. 7 years ago, I became extremely ill. I ended up in the hospital, and I was held hostage there for 2 weeks, and my body wouldn't work. And I came very close to dying. And then my body just went through a major failure. Physical, mental, emotional, everything fell apart and collapsed. And I literally was bedbound, and really struggled because I'm a doer, and didn't know how to rest, but couldn't do anything. And so mentally, emotionally really struggled. But then I also had serious brain fog, so I couldn't think straight anyway. But so, I was at the point where I was bedbound, and then was able to get up, start using a walker. I still couldn't, I couldn't shower on my own. I couldn't, I would get one shower a week because I just didn't have the strength or the energy. Then I started getting better, and then I was able to, my husband allowed me to get therapy chickens. And so I got my little chickens, and they helped me to, I'd go out and spend time with them, get some sunshine, fresh air, and, do a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then I, even just a year ago, I was in the still in a position where I would have to rest up all week long just to go and watch my grandkids one day a week. And then I'd, have to rest up the rest of the week just to go do one thing a week. And there was a few years where I was only able to do, if that, one thing a week. And the past couple weeks have been wild because, I've had all kinds of things I've been doing. Normally I would, like I said, only schedule one thing a week because it's all I could do. Whereas this week, like, I had a repairman come on Monday. I went something, and I'm probably going to do a video on this YouTube video. My sister and I went to a training. They're called Burnas. They are, I think I can show them. I don't know the whole YouTube thing. For getting in trouble. I might get in trouble. But they're Burnas, and they're non-lethal protection. And no background checks, no permits, interstate travel friendly, totally able to conceal carry. And so my sister and I went to one of their training places local to us and spent the day learning how to use them. And they're pretty cool. Something my old lady hands are able to deal with. So, but I did that on Tuesday. Wednesday, I had calls. And yesterday, I went and spent the day with my grands and my daughter. And then today, I went and picked up some raw dairy and went to the grocery store and got fuel in my car. And now after this, I'm going to be, doing prep for Sabbath. So I'm just so blessed and thankful. And it is crushing because I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. But He is faithful in His promises that when we walk and follow and guard His commands, He pours out blessings on us. Share if you're going through any kind of crushing right now. I know that there's several of us that are, and if it's a hard crushing, dying to self crushing, or if it's an overwhelmed by blessings crushing. So who knew there was such a thing? Anyway, okay, so the half Torah, and these are really small portions. These next 4 portions, they get smaller and smaller because we're almost at the end of Davarim, of Deuteronomy. We've only got a few more. Well, let's see, we're on 31, and it goes through 34. We've only got four chapters left until we're done with this this Torah cycle, which is exciting. And one of the other blessings is that my daughter, who I've been praying for a long time, would join me in doing the Torah portions, and she and my oldest grandson are going to be joining the next cycle. So that's super exciting. So, okay, Isaiah 61:10 through 68:9. Oh, we're going to make up some reading here. 61:10. There it is. So, I greatly rejoice in Yahuah, my being exalts in my Elohim. Yes. For He has put garments of deliverance on me. Wow. And He has covered me with a robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decks himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorns herself with her jewels. Now I can't read. So yeah, share if you've been crushed by blessings, and share what your blessings are, because man, those blessings are such beautiful testimonies of His goodness. Okay, so sorry for falling apart here. For as the earth brings forth its bud, as the garden causes the seed to shoot up, so the Master Yahuah causes righteousness and praise to shoot up before all the nations. 62. For Zion's sake, I am not silent, and for Jerusalem's sake, I do not rest until her righteousness goes forth as brightness and her deliverance as the lamp that burns. And the nations shall see your righteousness, and all the sovereigns your esteem, and you shall be called by a new name which the mouth of Yahuah designates. And you shall be a crown of comeliness in the land of Yahuah, and a royal headdress in the land of your Elohim. No longer are you called forsaken. Sorry. I have literally felt forsaken my entire life. And and it might come, because I, didn't really have a father figure, a real father figure, and just, I just felt forsaken my entire life. And so, wow. So you no longer are called forsaken, and you no longer is your land called deserted. And I know this is all about Israel, but there's so many overlaps. But you shall be called, okay, Hesipah, and your land married. For Yahuah shall delight in you, and your land be married. Wow. For as a young man marries a maiden, so shall your sons marry you. And as the bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so shall Elohim rejoice over you. And I have set watchmen on your walls, O Jerusalem, all the day and all the night continually, who are not silent. You who remember Yahuah, give yourself no rest, and give him no rest till he establishes and till he makes Jerusalem a praise in the earth. Yahuah has sworn by his right hand and by the arm of his strength, which is Yeshua, no more do I give your grain to be food for your enemies, nor do sons of foreigners drink your new wine for which you have labored. But those gathering it shall eat it and praise Yahuah, and those collecting it shall drink it and in my set apart courts. Pass through the gates, prepare the way of the people, build a highway, remove the stones, lift up a banner for the people. See, Yahuah has proclaimed to the end of the earth. Say to the daughter of Zion, see, your deliverance has come. See, his reward is with him and his work before him. And they shall be called the set apart people, the redeemed of Yahuah. And you shall be called sought out, a city not forsaken. Let me go in here. 63:9. Okay, it's right there. Who is this coming from Edom with garments of glowing colors, from Batsra, who is robed in splendor, striding before the greatness of his strength? It is I who speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Why is there red on your raiment, and your garments like one who treads in the winepress? I have trodden the winepress alone, and from the peoples no one was with me. And I trod them down in my displeasure, and I trampled them in my wrath. Their blood is sprinkled upon my garments, and I have defiled all my raiment. For a day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my Redeemer has come. And I looked, but there was none helping, and I was astonished that there was none upholding. So my own arm saved me, and my wrath upheld me. And I trod down people in my displeasure and made them drunk with my wrath, and I brought down their strength to the earth. Let me recount the loving commitment of Yahuah and his praises and the praises of Yahuah according to all that Yahuah has done for us, and the great goodness towards the house of Israel, which he has done for them according to his compassion and according to his many loving commitments. And they said, they are my people, children who do not act falsely, and he became their savior. In all their distress, he was distressed, and the messenger of his presence saved them. In his love and in his compassion, he redeemed them, and he lifted them up and carried them all the days of old. Wow. Okay. And then Luke 24. Sorry, I got the sniffles. 1 through 43. So I think it's the whole. Nope, not the whole chapter. Okay. But on day 1 of the week, at early dawn, they came to the tomb bringing the spices which they had prepared, and they found the stone rolled away from the tomb. And having entered, they did not find the body of the master Yahushua, Jesus. And it came to be, as they were perplexed about this, that see, two men stood by them in glittering garments. And becoming frightened and bowing their faces to the earth, these said to them, "Why do you seek the living among the dead? He is not here, but he is risen up. Remember how he spoke to you when he was still in Gilgal, saying, the son of Adam has to be delivered into the hands of sinners and be impaled, and on the third day rise again." And they remembered his words, and having returned from the tomb, they reported all this to the 11, to all of this to the 11 and to all the rest. And it was it was Miriam from Magdala, and Yohanan, John, and Miriam, the mother of Jacob, and the rest with them, who told this to the emissaries. And their words appeared to them to be nonsense, and they did not believe them. But Kepha, Peter, arose and ran to the tomb, and stooping down, he saw the linen wrappings lying by themselves, and he went away home, marveling at what took place. Can you imagine? I mean, how many times have we read this? We've read it, we know the whole story, but let's really break it down. To have walked and seen it all, and then to see this, I mean, you suspect it, just like right now, we're waiting for his second return, his second coming, and we're watching the skies, we're watching what's playing out on earth, we're watching and waiting, and that's what they had to have been doing. And then they started seeing all these things. They knew he was the Messiah, and so then and I'm sure that it made no sense to them, but then he's marveling that he was risen. And see, two of them were going the same. I love this story. And two of them were going that same day to the village called Animas, which was 60 stadia from Jerusalem. And they were talking to each other all of that which had taken place. And it came to be, as they were talking and reasoning, that Yahushua himself, Jesus himself, drew near and went with them. But their eyes were restrained so that they did not know him. And he said to them, "What are these words that you're exchanging with each other as you're walking and you're sad?" And the one whose name was Cleophas answered him, saying, "Are you the lone visitor in Jerusalem, who does not know what took place in these days?" And he said to them, "What?" And they said to him, "Concerning Yeshua of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before Elohim and all the people, and how the chief priests and the rulers delivered him to be condemned to death and impaled him. He, however, we, however, were expecting that it was he who is going to redeem Israel. But besides all of this, today is the third day since these matters took place." So these are Jews, and they're expecting Messiah ben David, basically the Messiah, son of David, the conquering king. And so they didn't recognize him because he came in as a peaceful lamb, as the Passover lamb. But certain women of ours who arrived at the tomb early also astonished us when they did not find his body. They came saying that he had also seen a vision of messengers. They had also seen a vision of messengers who said that he was alive. And some of those with us went to the tomb and found it, as also the women had said, but they did not see him. And he said to them, "Oh, thoughtless ones, and slow of heart to believe in all that the prophets have spoken. It was necessary for the Messiah to suffer these and to enter into his esteem." And the beginning, this is a part that, as in the Christian church, it was never talked about, or I never understood it. But how he went there and they didn't recognize him, so they're talking to him like he's someone else. And then he says, at the beginning and beginning at Moshe, beginning at Moses and all the prophets, he was explaining to them in all the scriptures the matters concerning himself, that he is the living Torah. He explained everything from Genesis 1 all the way through. And you have to understand that this what I'm reading right now, Luke, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, all the rest, all the letters to the churches, that didn't exist. None of that existed. The only thing that existed was the Torah, the prophets, and the words of wisdom. And so, and I love this here, how he said, and beginning at Moses, beginning at the beginning, the writings of Moses, the first 5 books, the Torah, and all the prophets, he was explaining to them in all the scriptures the matters concerning himself, how he fulfilled everything from Genesis 1:1 on. And they approached the village where they were going, and he seemed to be going on, but they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, for it is towards evening, and the day is declined." And he went in to stay with them. And it came to be, when he sat at the table with them, having taken the bread, he blessed, and having broke, he was given it to them. And their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. Still, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Okay. And they said to each other, "Was not our heart burning within us as he was speaking to us on the way, and as he was opening the scriptures to us?" So he was laying all of it out, how he fulfilled everything. Because they said they were expecting, the Messiah, son of David, the conquering king. And he came in as Messiah. What is it, Joseph? Yes, Ben Joseph, the suffering servant. And then he went back and explained how all of that points to him, how he fulfilled all of it. And rising up that same hour, they didn't even, let's see here. And they said to each other, "Was not the heart burning?" So were having dinner, and then he disappeared. And then, even though it was getting dark, they returned to Jerusalem to go back and tell the others. So, and rising up that same hour, they returned to Jerusalem and found the 11 and those who were with them gathered together, saying, "The Master was truly raised and has appeared to Simeon." And they related what took place on the way and how he was recognized by them in the breaking of the bread. And as they were saying this, Yeshua himself stood in the midst of them and said to them, "Peace to you." And being startled and frightened, they thought that they had seen a spirit. And he said to them, "Why are you troubled? And why do you doubts arise in your heart? See my hands and my feet, that it is I myself. Handle me and see, for a spirit does not have flesh and bones, as you see I have." And saying this, he showed them his hands and his feet. And while they were still not believing for joy and marveling, he said to them, "Have you any food here?" So it just blows my mind. Okay, so he's gone. He had a tragic death, put in the tomb. From what I understand, went to hell and took the keys of hell. I don't know if that's a Christian theology or what. But regardless, he rose from the dead. He ascended to the Father, because he told Mary, "Don't touch me, I've not yet ascended." And so then, by this time he's ascended, and now he wants food. It's just my brain. I have a hard time wrapping my brain around it because, he obviously, if he wants food, he's back in a physical body. I don't. So if you have any insight on this, please share. That'd be awesome. Anyway, and and they gave him a piece of a broiled fish and some honeycomb, and taking it, he ate in their presence. We think the world's crazy right now. Can you imagine being part of this circle, and experiencing what they've just experienced over the last week? It's crazy. It's crazy. No. All right. that is the end of this week's Torah portion. I know they probably are going to get done sooner, the next couple of weeks, because which is cool, because that gives us an opportunity to spend some time preparing. Some of you may have already or are in the middle of the fall feasts, and some of you are celebrating them with Israel, with brother Judah, our older brother Judah, with that calendar. So if you're celebrating now, or if you're going to be celebrating, what are your plans? I'd love for you to share with me. I think Rusty's taking the days off work, the high holy days he's taking off work. He wants to camp this first, because this will be, I kind of observed the feast last year, but and I made like a sukkah out of my gazebo out in my yard, and I blew the shofar. But this is the first year that Rusty's going to be part of the celebration of Yahuah's set apart days and the Moedim. So he wants to camp here at home for the first one. So I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but yeah, that's what I think we're going to be doing. I'm going to, I want to make up some awesome treats, special food, special cooking. It's just going to be us two, so nothing super elaborate. But I know that for my husband, celebrating means treats, good food. So my husband's very simple. Hi, honey, I know you're listening. That's the one thing I do really, really well as a wife, is I feed him well. So yeah, I want to have some special feast food and spend time in the Word. I really want to fast technology for as much as possible. So only as necessary, but I kind of envision the Feast of Sukkot as a trial run, as trial runs, as practice for a possible second Exodus if we have to go out into the wilderness and, the grid goes down or whatever. It's practice in living, relying on our provider and not the conveniences that we're so used to nowadays in our world. So that's kind of how I see the Sabbath. I mean, the Feast of Tabernacles is a week practicing, really connected, following him, and coming out of Babylon and rejecting the world and its trappings. And so that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. A little bit of old school, maybe spend some time doing puzzles. I've got the set apart stones from Shielded Arrow from my friend Stevie. In fact, I'll try to remember to put her link in there. It's a card game, and it's a Torah card game, which is I'm looking forward to Rusty and I playing that. Just spending some time together instead of in front of the TV or on the phone or computer or whatever. So that's my goal. So share what you've got, considering you've got planned for the set apart days for the Feast of Tabernacles. I'm always interested in hearing. We have a fellowship, but it's about an hour and a half away. I'd like to go down and visit it just during the day one day. And now that I'm feeling much better and able to travel, I probably will go down, because it's a working farm, and I'm wondering. I need to call them to see if they have like starts. Because after last week's portion, I'm really convicted about using hybrid starts and seeds in my garden. Yeah, I really want to just do heirloom seeds that have not been tainted or adulterated by human hands. And those are harder and harder to get. So I'm going to see it. I mean, it's a Torah community, a Torah farm. So chances are pretty good that they have heirloom seeds or starts. So I need to call them and see, because I want to put in my fall garden of, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, lettuces, things like that. So it's that time anyway. So if you're gardening, let me know. Like how you're preparing for Feast of Tabernacles, and any ideas of what you might be doing. This is one of the things that's really been on my heart this past week, and I'll probably do a video on it too. Might even combine it with the Brina. Is the Father leading you in any ways to prepare for, we're 54 days away from the election, and it seems like everyone's going crazy, losing their minds, and, the potential threat of like nuclear war or just, total economic collapse, grid going down. There's a lot of things looming. Are you prepared? And if so, how are you preparing? That's something that's, he's been telling me for the past few years is, be one of the wise virgins, have oil in your lamp, be ready and prepare. And, the first couple of years I took it as, prepping, so, get the food and the communication and the things, generators and gas, but, they're all fallible. You're eventually going to run out of gas. Water's our weak spot because our well's not great. So, have you done assessments? Have you looked at your life and, done an audit in lots of different areas? If this, then what? If the power goes out for a week, if the power goes out for a month, if the power goes out forever, if the internet goes down, how do you get a hold of loved ones? Are you gardening? How is the environment affecting your garden this year? I've heard so many people, our gardens are suffering because of the searing heat with this weird sun, and the chemtrails, the things like that. What are you doing? Because, let's come together and share skills and information and knowledge about how to weather this. Because eventually this medium that we're using here is not going to be available. And like I'm using it, I call it the University of YouTube, and I'm using it to learn as many skills as possible. What are you doing? Share with me, please. I'd appreciate it. I'd love to know what, everyone's got going on. And I would love to know where everyone's from, and is there anyone close? I think a lot of us were so scattered that we really, I don't know about you, but I crave fellowship, and I really crave in-person fellowship, but the Father's just not opened that up yet. There's a neighbor down as I'm driving home, and we're way out in the country, and I'm driving home, and I pass his sign. It was a few months ago, and it says, Yahuah is one. And I was just like, oh, there's another one of us. And, he's really close. In fact, his house is just right down below at the bottom of my mountain here. And I drive by all the time waiting to catch him or her, anybody catch. I went to the gate once and was like, hello. But yeah, nobody answered me. And it's kind of scary to do that kind of things nowadays. But I finally caught him last week and pulled him over. He was pulling into his driveway. And so I pulled in right behind him, and we talked and stuff. And he was just, I've read the Bible, and God and Lord isn't his name. Yahuah is his name. And he said, and it says to put Yahuah is one at your gate. And I was just like, that's so awesome. And so we talked. He comes from Catholicism, but he knows, but I don't know if he's celebrating or if he observes Sabbath, and he's not observing the feasts. But it was just a beautiful, it's like, there's someone else who's waking up and getting it, and knows that what the Bible is, all of our traditional Christian Bibles is, Lord and God is not his name. and he has a name, and we're supposed to call on his name and rely on his name and stand on his name and proclaim his name. And so that was really beautiful. So let me know what you're doing to prepare for the holidays, prepare for chaos and shutdown and insanity, and what are your plans on after the internet goes poof and we no longer have, the challenges is, none of us have landlines anymore. So how do we communicate to one another? And, I don't know, just the things I think about. So, well, right now, coming up on an hour, about 5 minutes left. So I'm going to let you all go. Be blessed. Have a fabulous week. Share, if you would, please, in the comments. And if you would, I don't usually ask because I'd rather these things just kind of grow organically if they're even meant to grow. But, and I don't really give a rip about the algorithms and the stuff. But if you feel led, share this with someone, like, comment. I'd love to hear from who, it shows that 20 people or so watch the portions, 15, 20 people. Who are you? Who's watching them? And say hi. Where are you from? Let's start to come together as come together in him. I'd love to hear from you. So be blessed. I love you all. Bye.